Welcome to the Roundtable Red River Week. Guys, you can join Inside Texas for just one single dollar. Best recruiting, best analysis, best team news, best coverage of Sark's press conference. And I got all the guys that do that. Also, just in a couple hours from now, guys, at Texas Live, we will be doing a live podcast at 12 p.m. But don't just show up at 12 p.m. You need to get there at 11. You will have the Oklahoma breakdown first, then us, and then followed with a conversation of Mac Brown and Barry Switzer. It's going to be absolutely awesome. It's a totally free event. It's in Arlington. If you've never been to Texas Live, it's an awesome venue. You cannot miss it. Just tell your boss right now that you got sick at work and come on over to Texas Live. Gentlemen's Red River Week feels a little weird, honestly. It still doesn't even feel like Red River right now to me. I was thinking that. But let's talk first things first. Just a really quick recruiting update, Justin. We are the home team this year.
Yeah, so Texas gets to host this year, and this is usually a pretty big event when it comes to recruiting, but I think right now the emphasis is more on the winning. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some talent in the stands. That starts and ends with Dia Bell, the five-star quarterback. He's going to be on campus. He'll be there. He was at Florida State last weekend. It worried a few Texas fans, but then they didn't actually read the article where it talked about his son, his little brother, Tia Bell, is a 2028 four-star guard out of Fort Lauderdale, whose Florida State was hosting. And so incredible basketball player. But anyway, Dia is so locked in. It's crazy. Derek Cooper had canceled a Florida State visit. He's supposed to be there. James Johnson, we had heard some rumors about Miami trying to flip him. He's supposed to be there. If Texas can get that core of their 2025 class commitments there, I think that's going to be the biggest tell, because there's only about 5 or 6 more spots in this class anyway. And so those are probably going to be flip candidates that you're probably not going to get to, at the State Fair on a Saturday. But there are some really big names in 2027 and 2028. And it starts with Demarion May. He's probably the number 1 wide receiver in the country. He's out of Fort Worth, North Crowley. Texas has a great relationship there already. They've got a good grasp of that program. I think there's going to be more North Crowley kids following John Turntine to Texas, like Jonathan Cunningham and those guys. And so it's not the big blowout recruiting thing you would expect, but it's guys that you want to make sure you're locked in with your commits. And then it's building that, stacking on that foundation of some of those future prospects as well.
Thank you, Justin. Joe, what are the big narratives, press conferences? We know the big storyline is actually on the OU side, but ear to the ground, what have we been hearing this week?
Yeah, Sark even touched on that on Monday, Wednesday. He's preparing for Oklahoma's scheme. He can't really worry too much about Mateer versus Hawkins, I guess, in a certain way. They've got to get ready for what Ben Arbuckle does, but I think they also grasp that Hawkins is a lot different than what Mateer may offer, even in whatever form he can take on the field. So talked a little bit about that, gave his normal pleasantries to the pageantry. Great game, 50-50, Cotton Bowl, big rivalry, all that sort of thing. Whenever he's got a lot of different media opportunities, he's got some rehearsed lines that he hits pretty darn well, and he did that again this past week. But the other thing he's kind of talking about is just, the offensive line. Every question basically was about the offensive line. What's wrong with it? He got asked, hey, should you have taken a guy in the portal? Tough question to really give a straight answer to right now. But I get why I was asked. And then he talked a little bit about what the rotation at guard looks like with Nick Brooks, with Connor Stroh, with Neto Umeozulu kind of waiting in the background. What Nick Brooks was able to offer, what he's probably going to end up offering on Saturday for Texas, and just, being able to get a little bit more out of those guys, if at all possible, against a great Sooners defensive front. So it's weird just because the season is on this odd precipice where they get a third loss. They're staring down the barrel of missing the playoff. That it's kind of become a, what went wrong? How are you surprised by this type of line of questioning? Instead of, looking forward to what we all kind of hoped would be a top 25, top 10, top 15 matchup at the beginning of the season. And it's taken on a different shape just because Florida seemed to just show so many different holes in the program that we didn't think were exactly there, but now we know are there after the Gators had their way. And here comes a equally as good, if not better, defensive front. So testing the Longhorns offensive line, doing what Sark can to help manufacture different types of plays running the football however he can without having to rely overly on Arch. That's been a topic this week. We'll hear a little bit more. The injury report will reveal more about Manny Muhammad and Parker Livingston, CJ Baxter. Good to not see Trey Wisner on there, but it's kind of been an odd introspective look at the program this week instead of looking at Oklahoma, looking at what this rivalry is. A lot more questions focused on what's going on inside the walls instead of what's about to happen in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, it's been a little somber. All right, now we're going to get really positive analysis. It's going to be great news from our analysts here, and it's going to go awesome. All right, Ian, what is your analysis on the Texas offense versus Oklahoma's defense?
Prayer is going to be an essential component. I think we've talked about this. You have to spread the field out. You have to give Arch some deep shots to keep them honest, and you're going to have to hit some, but he needs guys running underneath too. Oklahoma has a million huge safeties that can run and hit, but they don't have a lot of guys in their team that can cover. So you need to make them cover all the time, and you need your run game to basically be RPOs where you have everyone in coverage, or better, Arch running. And then you pray, and then you hope that Arch Manning has an amazing hero ball performance. And amazing is relative. Something like Sam Ehlinger in 2017, where it's like 20 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown, and then 20 completions for 200 yards and a touchdown. Minimal turnovers, no more than one. That's it. There's nothing else that's really going to do the trick. But hopefully the bar for what they need on offense is not too high. We'll see what Paul has to say about that.
If you're looking for a home in the Austin area, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. Laura's a part of the elite Andy Allen team at Keller Williams Realty. She's helped Longhorns find their dream homes all over Central Texas. You can just ask our very own Ian Boyd, who moved from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Whether you're searching in Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, San Marcos, or even parts of the 254 or the 210, Laura has you covered. So call 512-784-0505, or you can email her at laura@andyallenteam.com. She's a Longhorn, a friend of Inside Texas, and the person you need to call to get your next home in Central Texas. Call Laura Baker today. Contact info is in the description.
That's good analysis, Ian. Before this broadcast, Ian was saying we should go double tight and run the ball down their throat. And I was like, hey, man, you need to tweak that. And
With Jarrett Gibson, too.
With Jarrett Gibson, yeah, ball security, big focus. But he tweaked it, and I think that's the right analysis. I thought that was good. Yeah, I think there are opportunities, and let me plug another IT show, The Deep Dive. I suggest all of you, it's going to be released later in the afternoon on Thursday. Ian and I dig deep on OU. We show you some of their strengths and a lot of their weaknesses that can be had. So there are opportunities against this Sooner defense. Don't think that they're indestructible. If you can get them in pure coverage situations, they can be had. That said, that's incumbent upon us to get that. As far as our defense, I think one of the things that Longhorn fans have been trying to do is saying, well, let's compare our O-line to their O-line. They're both struggling. Well, our O-lines aren't playing. They're not playing their O-line, right? It's going to be the relative strengths of their team against ours. Which defensive coordinator is more likely to press their advantages? That, to me, is a key part of this matchup. Historically, I would say that would probably be Brent Venables. And that's not necessarily good news for us, because if he finds some weaknesses in our protection, we got a couple. You watched me and Ian's All-22 film. He's going to be merciless in attacking that. Whereas PK doesn't always necessarily stray from his core principles just to attack a weak link over and over. But sometimes that really pays off in college football. Sometimes if you find a little scratch, you just keep digging on it and it turns into a big wound. So I think that's something that we have to look at. Obviously, we don't know if it's going to be Hawkins or Mateer. I have suspicions about who it's going to be and that this is all a big propaganda campaign, but who knows? There's all sorts of recovery aids out there, and maybe Mateer is, his toughness isn't in doubt. It's the question is his efficacy, right? So the difference between Hawkins and Mateer is that Mateer can access the whole field with his arm. Hawkins cannot. And one of the things that Ian and I are going to point out when you watch this deep dive that comes out is we show you Hawkins throwing outside the hash, and it's not good. So what OU is going to do is a lot of mesh, a lot of picks, a lot of rubs, where they're trying to get guys crossing in the middle of the field, and Hawkins is just going to dump it to them. And OU's wide receiver core is not remarkable, but they're well disposed to that. Catching stuff on the run, adding yards to the catch. Burks, Satania, they're good at that kind of stuff. Jaron Kanak, you've got to treat the OU tight ends as not tight ends. They're just receivers and big bodies. They don't block. They don't want to block, and they can't block if they wanted to block. So you have to treat them accordingly. But Kanak is legitimately fast, and he's their number 2 receiver. He's averaging 16.4 yards per catch at the tight end position, but he's not a tight end. Treat him as a 230-pound slot, and basically think of OU as a spread offense of slot receivers with one big guy outside the boundary. And if you do that, it's kind of clarifying. And then you realize that Hawkins can't throw outside the boundary unless maybe it's a go route that's wide open or a little dump off. What he can't do is all those intermediate routes from 8 to 22 yards, outs, crossers, progressions, overs. He can't throw it. So if you zone up and you really pack that zone in the middle and then you bring pressure in his face, we have to be aggressive. We can't do the PK can get into this containment idea where you over fetishizes containment as I just fire out, stand straight up, and look at the quarterback from 10 yards away. That's not containment. Real containment is everyone honoring their rush lanes, but still pass rushing. And that's what we've got to do. If we do that, and if it's Hawkins, we're going to have 5 or 6 sacks, and he's going to throw a bunch of balls under duress. If we do the stand up and hold and slow dance like a junior high dance, he's going to have an opportunity to make plays, not just with his arm potentially as something comes open on a crosser, but with his legs. That's actually easier to escape because he can see where the lanes are going to be. So long-winded, I do think we have great advantages on defense against OU, whether it's Mateer or Hawkins. But we have real advantages if it's Hawkins, and we've got to press those advantages just as much as Brent Venables is going to press his advantages on the other side of the ball. If we finish this game and it's OU, we limited OU to 17 points, and we didn't get any turnovers, or we had 1 turnover, we didn't really affect field position, that's a fail. That's a fail from the Texas defense. They have to change this game. 3 turnovers, a pick 6, change field position. OU starting with the ball on their 4-yard line every possession. Like, that's how you change this game. That's how this Texas defense can carry us to victory. And then Arch Manning, you hope he makes enough plays.
All right, now it is time for predictions. Just give your number, maybe a sentence on what you think about it. Let's start with Justin.
I've gone back and forth a lot. I've changed my mind. I like Texas. 17-16. Very low scoring. Hammer that under. Arch Manning with a cape. Mason Shipley, earthquake. W. Come back. Get ready for who's next week? Kentucky.
All right, let's do it.
You said short and sweet.
No, I like it. No, we're all good, baby. Joe Cook, what's up?
I can't remember the last time I picked against Texas, but I think it's today. I think 21-17 Oklahoma, 1st to 20. I thought last week was 1st to 20, and that turned out to be true. I think it's the same this week, and maybe 20 points, 21 points is enough. And I'm not seeing Texas just doing a whole lot against this defensive line that the Sooners have.
Ian, this is a moment of truth for you, dude.
This is really big for Ian.
This is
I don't
big,
think y'all
guys.
understand.
Every year.
I'm picking the same score that my flag football team won by last Saturday, 16-6 in Texas's favor. I think Texas is going to get there with field goals. We did it with 2-point conversions. Just, But yeah, I think Texas's defense shows up and somehow or another they get a touchdown on the board via defense, special teams, arch heroics, something, and then a lot of field goals.
All right. Paul.
I ride a wave of emotion and analysis every week with regards to this game, where I am pessimistic early. Around midweek, I get very optimistic because I dive into the Sooner film and I see a bunch of garbage. And then I rewatch some of our stuff and then I get pessimistic again. I'll be peaking in optimism right before the game on Saturday, where I'll be predicting a 30-point Texas victory. But right now I'm with Joe Cook. But it's not going to be first team to 20. It's first team to 19. Sooners 19, Texas Longhorns 16. I feel like we probably outplay them overall and lose the game.
Good stuff. All right.
Can't wait.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully we can get this W against those damn Oklahoma Sooners. In a couple hours from now, guys, we will be at Texas Live doing a live podcast. Pause. Here's all the details. Friday, October 10th from 11 to 2. Get there a little early. Stay a little later. It's going to be a fun time. Also, join InsideTexas.com. Join for just $1. You will get even more of this analysis, team news, recruiting, all of the good stuff. Everyone, thank you and have a wonderful day.